Greetings and salutation, film fans. Thomas L here. Since today is the birthday of legendary actor Marlon Brando, I decided to do my top 10 favorite Marlon Brando movies. The guy was a legend. I mean, he was the classic movie star in that era, and he's been in some really good stuff when he was around and all. So that being said, here's my 10 favorite Brando movies. Coming in at number 10 is The Wild Ones. Here, Marlon Brando stars as a guy named Johnny, who plays like a motorcycle rider who has who's him and his motorcycle gang row into a carnival for a biker competition to raise, and like they end up raising enough hell to get kicked out, and so they end up repairing to a nearby uh, Wrightsville and continues their reign of terror. Then you've got a local sheriff, played by Robert Keep, who is like helpless to stop them, and all the gang ends up arriving, and he like manages to arrest their leader, Chino, played by Lee Marvin. And so Johnny ends up finding himself attracted to the sheriff's daughter, named Katie, played by Mary Murphy, who decides to stick around as well. This movie is a classic. I mean, Marlon Brando was really great here. Also, Mary Murphy was pretty good. This was kind of like the kind of like Easy Rider in a way, but of course this movie got released like a decade before Easy Rider. It's a really good one. I mean, it's one of Marlon Brando's earliest roles. The movie got released in the 50s, and it's a really classic, good little film. It has a pretty good script attached. Brando was just terrific. So, I mean, if you guys never seen The Wild Ones yet, check it out. It's a really good one. Coming in at number 9 is One Eye Jack. In this, Marlon Brando plays a outlaw named Rio, who, after pulling a bank heist in Mexico, him and his partner named Dad Longworth, played by Carl Malden, ends up making a run for it. But Dad has bigger plans than freedom. He ends up betraying Rio and absconds with the loot. And so, Rio ends up in prison, and like years pass before Rio finally breaks free to enact his long plot revenge, to take down Dad. And so, Rio, of course, learns that Dad ends up becoming a sheriff with no difference. So, he also ends up falling for Dad's stepdaughter named Louisa, played by Pinda Pellicker. I mean, this is like the second film in a row where Marlon Brando falls in love with with, I guess you could say, the not so good guy's daughter. I mean, in The Wild Ones, he ends up falling for a sheriff's daughter. In this, he ends up falling for the main villain's daughter. So, I mean, I can't blame the females. I mean, Marlon Brando, he was, I guess you could say, like the Channing Tatum or Ryan Gosling of that era. And Marlon Brando was really great as One Eye Jack. Like this is a classic outlaw western movie. Brando was pretty good here. I mean, Carl Malden was also really good. Now, this movie here, got released in. It got released in 1961, and it's a pretty good one. And it was also directed by Marlon Brando as well, who is a pretty decent director once in a while. And yeah, One Eye Jacks is a really interesting little gem. If you guys still never seen it, I highly recommend it. It's a really good one. Coming in at number 8 is The Freshman. Now, in this, it stars Matthew Broderick as Clark Kellogg, who is robbed moments after arriving in New York. So when he sees his mugger several days later, he ends up confronting him, and the man ends up promising to return his property and get him a job with his uncle who's like a mafia boss named Carmine Sabatini, played by Marlon Brando. And so like Clark, continues his shady work for Carmine, and he ends up discovering an elaborate underworld that has caught the attention of the authorities. And so like as things end up coming to a head, like there's like not everything in the film seems what appears to be and all. I mean, Marlon Brando is no stranger at playing mob boss. Of course, there's a little film that he starred in where he plays a mob boss. I'm probably that might or might not be on my list. I don't know, but anyway, yeah, Freshman is a really good, fun film. I mean, I really like the chemistry between Matthew Broderick and Marlon Brando. I mean, Matthew Broderick was really good in this. Of course, he's best known for Ferris Bueller, Election, and all that, and he was really solid in this part. Yeah, I really like the interaction between him and Marlon Brando. I mean, the movie also got released in 1990, and was also directed by Andrew Bergman. And besides Baldwin, besides Broderick, I meant to say, and Brando, why do they call Broderick Baldwin? Anyway, besides Broderick and Brando, you also had some other good supporting casts like Penelope Ann Miller, Maximilian Schell, Bruno Kirby, B.D. Wong was in this. You had some pretty good supporting cast members, and it had a really good script attached. I mean, this movie was pretty much like I guess you could say like The Godfather if The Godfather was a comedy instead. So that's what it was really similar to. Right. Coming in at number 7 is the musical classic Guys and Dolls. Now, there's actually a remake of this in the works that Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Channing Tatum has been attached to for years. And of course, there's like a Broadway stage version of it as well. Guys and Dolls here stars Frank Sinatra, Marlon Brando, Gene Simmons. Not to be confused with Kiss from it. I mean, Gene Simmons is like this Gene Simmons is spelled is a female, of course, and it's spelled Jean. So I don't want to get anybody confused with that part. Anyway, in it, Frank Sinatra plays a gambler named Nathan Detroit who has like few options for the location of his big craps games. And so like he's needing to pay 1,000 to pay a garage owner to host the game. And so like Nathan ends up being Sky Masterson, played by Marlon Brando. And so like that way Sky cannot get purchase so we can also get the Gene Simmons character Sarah Brown out on a date. And so like despite some resistance, Sky negotiates a date with her in exchange for bringing people into her mission. And so, like, meanwhile, you got Nathan's longtime fiance named Adeline, played by Vivian Blaine, who wants to go legit and also marry her as well. This movie has some pretty decent songs in it. I mean, who knew that Marlon Brando could sing? I mean, I don't know if it was really his real sing voice or not, but he was really good here. I mean, of course, you got Frank Sinatra. He's a legendary, iconic singer right there. And the chemistry between both Sinatra and Brando was really great. It was also directed by Joseph L. Mankiewicz, who did a pretty good job at like Joseph Mankiewicz is a pretty much a legendary filmmaker. Like he worked with Marlon Brando a couple times, and he did a really good job at directing this. This is like Gods and Dolls is those classic straight up musicals, which are always worth to watch. I mean, between this, Damn Yankees, and loads of others, there's been so many really great classic musicals in that era, and this is definitely no difference. Guys and Dolls is a classic. I mean, if you guys never seen it, I highly recommend it. Coming in at number 6 is On the Warfront. Now, in this, Marlon Brando plays a character named Doc Worker, who not named, but he plays like a dock worker named Terry Mully, who had been an up and coming boxer until like a powerful mob boss named Johnny Friendly, played by Lee J. Cobbs, persuaded him to throw a fight. And so, like, when a longshoreman is like murdered, before he can testify about Friendly's control of the Hoboken War Fort, Terry ends up teaming with the man's dead. He ends up teaming up with the dead man's sister named Eddie, played by Eva Marie Saint, and the streetwise priest's father, Barrett, also played by Carl Malden, to testify himself against the evidence of Friendly's lawyer who's Terry's older brother Charlie, played by Rod Stedger. On the Waterfront is a classic romance movie. I mean, the chemistry between Marlon Brando and Eva Marie Saint is iconic. And this was also one of Brando's like earliest work. I mean, the movie got released in 1954, and it's a classic one to watch. It was directed by Elia Kazan, and Marlon Brando also won his Oscar for Best Actor for this film. And Eva Marie Saint, I believe she won an Oscar as well. I could be mistaken, but I think she probably did. I can't really remember, but I mean, Eva Marie Saint she's a legend, and she was really great in this movie. I mean, this movie tops with Casablanca and those other classic romance movies of that era. I mean, boy, how great was it for movies of the golden age? I'm not gonna lie. Once in a while, I'll turn on TCM to check what's on it. Sometimes, if On the Warfront is on TCM, I'll watch it once in a while. It's a classic. Coming in at number 5 is A Streetcar Named Desire. Now, this movie is based on a play by Tennessee Williams, and it's a drama that follows a troubled former schoolteacher, Blanc D. Bias, played by Vivian Lee, who who ends up leaving small town Mississippi and moves in with her sister named Stella Kowalski, played by Kim Hunter, and her husband Stanley, played by Marlon Brando. And so, like in New Orleans, Blanc's flirtations, stubborn Belle presence, causes problem for Stella and Stanley, who already have a vol- volatile relationship, leading to like greater conflicts in the Kowalski household and all. So there's like lots of confrontations in this film, and I believe Marlon Brando also won an Oscar. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Vivian Lee also won an Oscar for this. Vivian Lee, I mean, I think she won like 2 Oscars, one for this and one for Gone with the Wind. I mean, she was great in this movie. Her interaction between with Marlon Brando was really great. She also had good chemistry with Kim Hunter, who, like I said, plays her sister here. The movie had a really good script attached. I mean, it's a classic. I never really seen the Tennessee Williams play or anything like that, but it's still pretty decent one. Like the movie version is a classic now. I mean, the movie was also directed by Ela Kazan, who of course did On the Waterfront, and also Carl Malden was also in the show. I mean, Carl Malden and Marlon Brando worked together loads of times in the past. Boy, you also had Nick Dennis, Peg Hillis, right? King was in this. Some pretty good cast members. I mean, if you guys never seen A Streetcar Named Desire, it's a '50s classic. I mean, it got released in 1951, and it still holds up today. It's a really good one. Coming in at number 4 is a little risky one, and that is Last Tango in Paris. Now, this movie is very erotic. I mean, it is deep. I'm actually surprised they were able to get away with this type of movies back then. I mean, the movie got released in I think the '60s, '70s, and type of movies like this, I wasn't really sure if they were really popular back then as they are now. But I mean, in it, Marlon Brando plays a hoteler named Paul, who becomes transfixed by a younger French woman named Janine, played by Maria Schneider. And so, like when he meets her by chance at a apartment, both are attempting to rent. And so, like the couple ends up beginning a extended but purely anonymous sexual relationship in which they do not even tell each other their names and all. But it soon becomes clear that the couple's deliberate level of dislocation cannot be continued anymore. So this movie is a very risky film. But it's still a really good one, though. Marlon Brando and Maria Schneider, they both had some really good chemistry with one another. The movie was also directed by Bernardo Bertolucci. I always never knew if I pronounced his name that well, but he did a really good job at directing. Sadly, Bernardo sadly passed away not so long ago. Shame he passed. He was really good. He did a really good job at directing. And I mean, Marlon Brando's Paul character, is also going to heartbreak because like his wife, committed suicide. So of course he ends up moving to Paris, and he ends up falling for Maria Schneider and all. Like their chemistry was really on point, and this movie was a pretty hot film as well. And yeah, this was the 50 Shades of Grey of that era, to be honest. Yeah, except this movie is better. I mean, come on. But anyway, if you guys are into like these risque type films, check out Last Tango in Paris. It's another Marlon Brando movie worth checking out. Coming in at number three is Superman. Now here, of course, Marlon Brando plays a famed scientist, Jor-El, who's of course El Kel's father here, and of course, he sends his infant son Kal-El on a spaceship to Earth, and of course, he ends up becoming Superman and is like raised by farmers Jonathan and Martha Kent, played by Glenn Ford and Phyllis Taxer, and of course, you got Christopher Reeve playing Clark. You even have Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor, who was great. The late great Margaret Kidder was really amazing as Lois Lane. The movie was, of course, directed by Richard Donner. Marlon Brando as Jor-El was a really cool casting. I mean, it was interesting to see him pop up in a superhero movie because you wouldn't have expected Marlon Brando to be in a type of movie like this. Kind of like how you wouldn't expect people like Robert Redford or any other legendary actors like Glenn Close or Mike Douglas to appear in the MCU and all. You would not have expected Marlon Brando to pop up in a DC movie like this, and he did a really good job as Jor-El. Of course, other actors who donned the role included like Russell Crowe, of course, played Jor-El, and a few other actors have played the character too. But I think Marlon Brando's Jor-El is maybe the best Jor-El we've seen on screen. Marlon Brando was great as a role. Sadly, he never really reprised his role in the other Superman movies. That was a little shame, but all right. Coming in at number two is the Francis Ford Coppola classic Apocalypse Now. The movie is set in Vietnam in 1970, and you got Martin Sheen playing a character named Captain Willard, who takes parallels and increasingly hallucinatory journey upriver to find a terminate Colonel Kurtz, played by Marlon Brando, who was once a promising officer who has reportedly gone completely mad and all. And so, and in the company of a Navy patrol boat filled with street smart kids, a surfing obsessed air cavalry officer played by Robert Duvall, and a crazed freelance photographer, played by Dennis Hopper. Willard ends up traveling further and further into the heart of darkness. I mean, this is a classic war movie. This is a war movie you could watch. I mean, this is definitely one to watch on Vietnam Day. Not Veterans Day, I meant to say. It's a it's a '70s classic. I mean, Francis Ford Coppola, who of course directed Marlon Brando in another movie that I want to talk about after this. Francis Ford Coppola did a really great job. It had a good cinematography, a good score. Marlon Brando gave an amazing performance here. The other cast was good. I mean, you had Lawrence Fishburne. Some pretty good cast members were in this, and it's a really good one. My number one favorite Marlon Brando movie is, come on, I know, shocker. My number one favorite is The Godfather. The Godfather is arguably one of the greatest motion pictures of all time. I mean, Marlon Brando, of course, plays the crime family member, Don Vito Corleone. And of course, you got Al Pacino playing his youngest son, Michael Corleone. Then you also got Diane Keaton here. Robert Duvall is also in this, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. This movie is iconic. The prosthetics and makeup they used on Marlon Brando was terrific. Marlon Brando, of course, won his Oscar for this. That one I know for sure he won his Oscar. I could tell you that from my head right now. Marlon Brando won his Oscar for this. And Godfather, I mean, who doesn't love The Godfather? It's a little long, I admit, but it's still a classic. I mean, this movie is a influation of other films you comment on. I mean, lots of stuff have pretty much parodied The Godfather, and I mean, Zootopia parodied The Godfather. Family Guy wants to parody The Godfather. It's just it's an iconic. I mean, it has some classic lines, and the whole movie. I mean, also centers on Don's daughter's wedding as well. So there's that. This is just a classic. I mean, it got released in 1971 or 72 in the early 70s, and it's a movie that still holds up today. I mean, you could watch this movie and it'll still hold up. But although Marlon Brando never really reprised his role in the sequels, by the way, which I always keep forgetting he never did though. Yeah, again, the sequels. I mean, Godfather 2 and 3, they were okay, but come on, the first one is the best. It's just iconic. For some ever reason, if you have never ever seen The Godfather, it's usually on TCM, AMC. It's usually on sometimes HBO. It's a long movie. I will warn you up front, but it's a classic. I mean, yeah, again, who never really seen The Godfather? I mean, come on, it's iconic. But yeah, Godfather is definitely Brando's best work ever. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Let me do the quick rundown. Number 10, The Wild One. 9, One Eye Jacks. 8, The Freshman. 7, Guys and Dolls. 6, On the Warfront. 5, A Streetcar Named Desire. 4, Last Tango in Paris. 3, Superman. 2, Apocalypse Now. 1, The Godfather. Let me leave it to you guys. What are some of your favorite Marlon Brando movies? Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for more notifications. This here is Tom Sells signing off.